The space station hung in the darkness like a massive jewel. Hyun Daewon pressed his face against the shuttle window and stared at it. The structure was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Lights blinked across its surface in patterns he didn't understand. Somewhere inside that station, 47 alien species waited to judge humanity. Daewon felt his stomach twist. He was a pilot, not a diplomat. 3 years ago, he had been flying combat missions over the Pacific. Now he wore a stiff formal uniform and carried the hopes of 8 billion people on his shoulders. First time seeing it never gets old, does it? Yoon Hana sat beside him, her face calm. She was the team's scientist, always steady when everyone else felt nervous. Her dark eyes reflected the station's lights. "I keep thinking we're not ready for this," Daewon admitted. "We're not," Hana said simply. "But they didn't ask if we were ready. We invented faster-than-light travel. That put us on their radar whether we liked it or not." The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Daewon stood and straightened his uniform. Behind him, the rest of Earth's delegation gathered their things. 12 people. That's all humanity could send to represent their entire species. The airlock opened with a hiss. Cool air rushed in, carrying strange smells. Something sweet, something metallic, something alive but completely unfamiliar. They stepped through into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The walls glowed with soft light. Daewon's boots made no sound on the floor. Everything felt too clean, too perfect, too alien. A figure waited for them at the end of the corridor. Daewon's breath caught in his throat. He had seen pictures, of course, videos, holographic briefings, but nothing prepared him for meeting an alien face to face. The creature stood on 4 legs, each ending in delicate claws. Its body rose up like a centaur from old Earth legends. But where a horse would be was something insect-like, covered in smooth purple plates. The upper torso was almost humanoid, with 4 arms and a narrow head that tilted as it watched them approach. "Ambassador Hyun Daewon," the creature said. Its voice came from somewhere in its chest, buzzing and clicking but perfectly understandable. Translation technology, Daewon remembered. "I am Kaelith, Arbiter of the Galactic Council. Welcome to Integration Station." Daewon bowed, just as he had practiced. "Thank you, Arbiter. We are honored to be here." Kaelith's head tilted the other way. "Honor? Yes, humans speak often of honor. We shall see if your actions match your words." The Arbiter turned and walked away. The humans followed through corridors that twisted and turned. Daewon tried to memorize the path, but gave up after the 5th turn. The station was a maze. They entered a vast chamber. Daewon stopped and stared. The room was circular, stretching up so high he couldn't see the ceiling. Platforms floated at different heights, each holding clusters of aliens. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "The observation galleries," Hana whispered beside him. "They're all here to watch us." Kaelith led them to a platform in the center of the room. As they stepped onto it, the platform rose smoothly into the air. Daewon's stomach lurched. Around them, the aliens watched in silence. "Do not be alarmed," Kaelith said. "This is standard procedure. All new species must undergo the integration trials. These determine if your species is ready to join the Galactic Council." "And if we're not ready?" Daewon asked. "Then you return to your home world. You remain there for 1,000 of your years before you may try again." 1,000 years. Daewon felt cold. That would be 50 generations. Everyone alive today would be long dead. Their great-great-grandchildren would be dust. "We understand," he said quietly. The platform stopped rising. They floated in the middle of the chamber now, surrounded by watching aliens on all sides. Daewon recognized a few species from his briefings. The tall, thin ones with too many joints were Rethians. The floating spheres of light were lumens. The massive creatures that looked like living rocks were Granthoids. But one figure caught his attention. She stood on a platform close to theirs. Her skin was pale blue, smooth as water. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, a face that was almost human except for the large, dark eyes that had no whites at all. Silver hair flowed down her back like liquid metal. She wore robes that seemed to shift colors as she moved. She was staring directly at Daewon. Their eyes met. Daewon felt something strange pass through him. Not quite a thought, not quite a feeling, like an echo of both. "That's a Velthrin," Hana whispered. "They're telepaths. Be careful what you think around her." The Velthrin woman smiled slightly, as if she had heard Hana's warning. Then she looked away. Kyleth raised 2 of his 4 arms. The chamber fell silent. "We gather today to witness the integration trials of species number 48, the humans of planet Earth, Sol System, Orion Arm. They are young. Their civilization has existed for only 10,000 years. They have known space travel for less than 400 years. They achieved faster-than-light travel only 5 years ago." Murmurs rippled through the galleries. Daewon heard clicking, buzzing, sounds like wind and water. The translator in his ear could only catch fragments. "Too young. Dangerous. Their broadcasts showed violence. They fight each other constantly." Kyleth continued. "The humans have a short lifespan. Most live less than 100 years. They reproduce quickly and spread rapidly. Their history is filled with conflict and war." "These facts are concerning." Daewon felt anger rise in his chest. Yes, humans fought. Yes, they made mistakes. But they also created art, music, poetry. They loved. They dreamed. They reached for the stars even when it seemed impossible. "However," Kyleth said, "they are here. They have met the minimum requirements. Therefore they shall face the trials. Let us begin." The platform began to descend. As they dropped, the Velthrin woman leaned forward slightly. Her dark eyes found Daewon again. This time, her smile was different, warmer, almost sad. Daewon didn't understand why, but that look made him more nervous than anything else that had happened. The trials were about to begin. Earth's future hung in the balance. And somewhere in this station full of aliens, one of them was watching him with an expression that seemed to say she already knew how this would end. The platform touched down in a new chamber. Doors sealed behind them with a solid thump. Kyleth stood at a control panel, his claws moving across surfaces that glowed with symbols Daewon couldn't read. "The first trial begins now," the Arbiter announced. "You will face scenarios designed to test your diplomatic abilities, your problem-solving skills, and your capacity for ethical reasoning under pressure. There are no second chances. There are no retries. You have one opportunity to prove your species deserves a place among the stars." Daewon looked at Hana. She nodded once, her face set with determination. Behind them, the rest of the team stood ready. "We're ready," Daewon said. Kyleth's mandibles clicked together. It might have been a laugh. "We shall see, Ambassador. We shall see." The lights dimmed. The trial had begun. The chamber transformed around them. Walls disappeared, replaced by holographic images so real that Daewon reached out to touch them before stopping himself. He stood on what looked like a city street. Tall buildings rose on both sides, but they were wrong somehow. The angles didn't quite match human architecture. The colors were too bright. "This is Colony World Theta 9, a voice echoed through the space. Kyleth spoke from somewhere outside the simulation. "Population, 2,400,000. Multiple species live here in peace. Your scenario begins now." Text appeared in the air in front of Daewon. He read quickly. A plague had broken out on the colony. It spread fast, killing within days. The medical facilities could only produce enough cure for half the population. He had to decide who would receive the medicine and who would be left to die. "This is insane," Hana muttered beside him. "There has to be another option." Day-One scanned through the data, resources, medical supplies, transport capabilities, production limits. Everything had been calculated precisely. There was no miracle solution hidden in the numbers. On another platform visible through a transparent wall, another species faced their own trial. The Korthan. They were large creatures, covered in thick gray skin like armor. One of them stood at a command console, reviewing the same information Day-One had. The Korthan made their decision in less than 5 minutes. Through the translator, Day-One heard their logic. Save the young and strong. Save those with useful skills. Save those with good genetics. Let the old, weak, and sick die. This maximizes the colony's chance of survival. The simulation accepted their answer. The Korthan moved on to their next trial. Day-One felt sick. Yes, it was logical. Yes, it made cold mathematical sense. But these were lives, people with families, dreams, memories. How could you just decide some were worth more than others? "What are you thinking?" Hannah asked quietly. "I'm thinking this test is designed for species that don't value individual life the way we do," Day-One said. "Every other species here lives for centuries. They think long-term. They plan for outcomes we can't even imagine. But humans? We live fast and we burn bright, and every single life matters because we don't have time to waste any of them. So what do we do?" Day-One stared at the data. An idea formed in his mind. Crazy. Dangerous. Probably exactly what the Council expected humans to do. He started entering commands. "We divide the population into groups. Everyone gets rotated through quarantine zones. Some people get the medicine immediately, others wait. We cycle them through on a schedule that gives everyone an equal chance at survival." "That doesn't solve the problem," Hannah pointed out. "We still don't have enough medicine." "No, but we buy time. While the rotations happen, we put every scientist and doctor we have on developing more of the cure. We push the production facilities past their safe limits. We take risks. People will die during the rotations. Yes. But this way, nobody gets written off as not worth saving. Everyone has a chance, including us." "Us?" Day-One nodded. "I'm putting the human delegation in the last rotation group. If we're asking people to wait and risk death, we wait with them." Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "The Council is going to hate this." "Probably." Day-One submitted his answer. The simulation ran forward. Colony citizens moved through quarantine zones. Medical teams worked around the clock. Production facilities pushed their limits. Some equipment broke down. Some people died waiting for their turn. But slowly, steadily, the cure production increased. The rotation system bought just enough time. When the simulation ended, 73% of the colony had survived. Better than 50%, not perfect, but better. The holographic city vanished. They stood in the empty chamber again. Kyle Ith appeared on a platform above them. "Your solution was inefficient," the Arbiter said. "You risked your own lives needlessly. You endangered equipment with your pushing past safety limits. A more logical approach would have saved the same number with less risk. A more logical approach would have decided some people weren't worth saving at all," Day-One replied. Kalith's mandibles clicked. "You let emotion guide you. We let ethics guide us. There's a difference." Before Kalith could respond, another platform descended. The Velthran woman stood on it. Up close, she was even more striking. Her skin seemed to glow slightly in the chamber's dim light. Those dark eyes studied Day-One with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Arbiter Kylith," she said. Her voice was soft, musical, but it carried authority. "I wish to invoke my right as Council Observer." Kylith's entire body stiffened. "Observer Veltara, this is highly irregular." "Nevertheless, it is my right. I request a recess before judgment is passed on this trial." "For what purpose?" I wish to speak with Ambassador Hyun-Dae-won. Privately. The chamber filled with sounds, buzzing, clicking, whistling. The translator couldn't keep up with all the alien voices talking at once. Daewon understood enough. This was unusual, maybe unprecedented. Kalith's 4 arms gestured sharply. The Velthrin have never shown interest in integration trials before. Why now? Why this species? Veltara looked directly at the Arbiter. Something passed between them. Not words. Daewon felt it in the air, like pressure before a storm. Because I have seen something in their emotional resonance that requires investigation, Veltara said carefully. You know my people do not interfere without cause. And you know that private consultation with trial candidates is forbidden, unless an observer suspects timeline contamination. The chamber went completely silent. Even the ambient sounds of the station seemed to stop. Daewon had no idea what timeline contamination meant, but clearly it was serious. Kalith was still for a long moment. Then all 4 arms dropped. Very well, you have 1 standard hour, no more. Veltara's platform moved toward Daewon. She extended a hand. Come with me, Ambassador. We have much to discuss. Daewon looked at Hana. She nodded once, though her face showed concern. He stepped onto Veltara's platform. It rose smoothly and carried them out of the chamber, leaving his team behind. They moved through corridors in silence. Daewon wanted to ask questions, but something in Veltara's expression kept him quiet. She looked worried. More than worried. She looked frightened. Finally, they entered a small room with a single window. Through it, Daewon could see space. Stars scattered across the darkness like diamonds on black cloth. The view was beautiful enough to hurt. Do you know what my people do, Ambassador? Veltara asked. You're telepaths, Daewon said. You can read minds. Not minds, emotions, intent, the shape of a soul if you want to be poetic about it. She turned to face him. Every species has a pattern, a way their emotions flow. We've studied 47 species. We know their patterns as well as you know your own heartbeat. And humans? You have no pattern. You're chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. Every time I try to read your emotional resonance, I see something different. It's like looking at a kaleidoscope that never stops turning. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult. Veltara smiled sadly. Neither. It's an observation. And it's why I had to speak with you alone. She moved closer, her dark eyes searching his face. Ambassador Daewon, what I'm about to tell you could change everything. For your species, for the galaxy, for the future itself. What is it? Veltara took a deep breath. Then she leaned in close, so close that Daewon could feel the warmth of her skin. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. 3 times human. 3 times in our history, the galaxy faced extinction-level threats. 3 times we failed to stop them. They stopped themselves, and we never knew why. Until now. Daewon's heart pounded. What do you mean? I mean that we found evidence, energy signatures, technology that shouldn't exist, all of it appearing in our ancient past. She paused. All of it matching human technology. Technology you won't invent for another 1,000 years. The room seemed to spin. Daewon gripped the edge of a table to steady himself. You're saying humans from the future came back and saved the galaxy? I'm saying someone did. Someone with your emotional chaos, your unpredictable patterns, your refusal to accept the impossible. Veltara's hand touched his arm gently. The Council fears you because you're young and violent. I fear you because somehow, some way your descendants are out there in time, protecting us, which means you will survive what's coming. What's coming? Veltara's eyes filled with something Daewon recognized. The same look soldiers got when they knew the battle ahead would be bad. Everything, she whispered. Daewon stared at Veltara, trying to process what she had just said. Future humans, time travel, threats to the entire galaxy. It sounded like bad science fiction. "You're serious," he said finally. "Completely." Veltara moved to the window, her silver hair catching the starlight. "Come here. Let me show you something." Daewon joined her at the window. She touched the glass, and it changed. Now, instead of stars, he saw images, data streams, historical records written in symbols he couldn't read. "This is from 8,000 years ago," Veltara explained. "The first threat. We called it the Gray Death, a virus that spread between species, adapting faster than we could develop cures. It killed 90% of the galaxy's population in just 5 years. Daewon saw images of dying worlds, empty cities, ships drifting dead in space. Then one day it stopped. Just stopped. Every research facility in the galaxy received the same transmission. A cure. Complete instructions on how to synthesize it, how to distribute it, how to modify it for each species. The transmission came from nowhere. No source. No explanation. And you think humans sent it? We didn't think anything. We were grateful to be alive. But later, when we analyzed the transmission's energy signature, we found something strange. A pattern we'd never seen before. We filed it away and moved on. Veltara changed the image. 4,000 years ago, the second threat, the Void Swarm, creatures that lived in the emptiness between stars. They consumed matter for energy. Planets, ships, entire solar systems. More images, this time of darkness spreading across star maps. Whole sections of the galaxy going silent. We tried everything, weapons, shields, diplomacy. Nothing worked. The swarm just kept coming. We prepared for the end. Veltara's voice was soft. Then someone activated the Ancient Defense Network. Ancient Defense Network? Massive weapons platforms hidden in dead stars throughout the galaxy. Nobody knew they existed. Nobody built them. At least, nobody alive. They activated all at once and destroyed the swarm in a single coordinated strike. "Let me guess," Daewon said. "The same energy signature." Exactly. By now, some scientists started asking questions. Who built the weapons? Who cured the Gray Death? But there were no answers. Just mysteries. Veltara changed the image again. 1,000 years ago, the third threat. A species from another galaxy. They called themselves the Unity. They believed all life should merge into one collective consciousness. They came with weapons that could rewrite minds. Daewon felt cold. Mind control. Worse. Complete erasure of individual thought. They converted entire species in days. Planet after planet fell. We were losing badly. The Council prepared to evacuate to another galaxy. But something stopped them. Someone. A single ship appeared in the middle of the Unity fleet. It broadcast a signal that reversed their mind control technology. Turned it back on them. The Unity Collective collapsed. Their fleet went dark. The war ended in 1 hour. Veltara turned to face Daewon. That ship had the same energy signature, and this time we got a partial sensor reading before it vanished. She pulled out a small device from her robes. It projected a hologram. Daewon's breath caught. The ship was clearly human design. Advanced, sleek, covered in weapons he didn't recognize. But the basic shape was unmistakable. It followed design principles he'd seen in Earth's experimental ships. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Is it? You're the species that refuses to accept impossible things." Veltara dismissed the hologram. "For 1,000 years we've wondered. We've searched. We've tried to find these mysterious saviors. Nothing. Then 5 years ago, you invented faster-than-light travel. Your ship started appearing on our sensors, and the energy signature matched." Daewon's mind raced. "But we've never time-traveled. We barely understand basic physics. We can't—" "You can't now," Veltara interrupted gently. But clearly, someday you will. Your descendants, your children's children's children. They'll develop technology we can't imagine, and they'll use it to go back, to save us. 3 times. Why? Why would they do that? Veltara smiled. Because you're human. Because you don't let people die if you can stop it. Because even across thousands of years, you remember that every life matters. She moved closer. Don't you see? The test you just took. The rotation system. Risking yourself to give everyone a chance. That's exactly the kind of thinking that saves galaxies. Daewon walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his descendants were traveling through time, protecting the past, ensuring their own existence. It made his head hurt. If this is true, why doesn't the Council just accept us? We obviously become important. Because they're afraid. Veltara joined him at the window. Think about it from their perspective. A young, violent species appears. Within 1,000 years, they'll have technology that dwarfs anything we've achieved in 100,000 years. They'll be able to manipulate time itself. They'll be powerful enough to save or destroy galaxies. How do you react to that? With caution. Exactly. Half the Council wants to accept you quickly, maintain good relations, ensure you develop peacefully. The other half wants to quarantine you, slow your development, maybe prevent you from ever getting that powerful. And you? What do you want? Veltara was quiet for a moment. I want to trust you. I want to believe that the species that saved us 3 times will continue to be protectors, not conquerors. But I also want you to understand what's at stake. She pulled out another device. This one projected a different kind of data. Star charts, astronomical readings, dates and numbers. 127 years from now, something new is coming. We call them the Harvesters. They've consumed 14 other galaxies. Every simulation we run ends in total annihilation. Nothing we try works. We all die. Daewon felt his throat go dry. Every simulation? Except, Veltara said softly, the simulations where humans exist. Where you're part of the Council. Where you've had time to develop, to grow, to become whatever you're meant to become. In those simulations, something changes. We don't know what. We can't see it clearly. But you survive. And more than that, you win. She handed him a small crystal. It was warm to the touch, glowing with a faint blue light. This contains everything we know about the Harvesters, all our research, all our failed plans. I shouldn't give this to you. The Council voted to keep it secret for another 100 years. They think panic will tear the galaxy apart. Then why are you giving it to me? Veltara's dark eyes met his. Because in every timeline we've modeled, keeping secrets leads to disaster. But there's one scenario where we survive. Just one. The scenario where we tell humanity early. Where we trust you with the truth and ask for your help. Where we stop treating you like dangerous children and start treating you like the saviors we know you'll become. Daewon held the crystal carefully. It felt heavier than it should. The weight of billions of lives. This is insane, he said. We're not ready for this. We barely made it to the stars. How are we supposed to fight something that destroyed 14 galaxies? I don't know, Veltara admitted. But clearly you figure it out. Because the evidence says you already did. Your future selves saved us 3 times, which means you can do it a 4th time. That's circular logic. Welcome to the paradox of time travel. Veltara smiled sadly. Nothing about this makes sense, Ambassador. But it's happening anyway. The only question is whether the Council accepts you now, or makes you wait 1,000 years. And if we make you wait, I'm not sure we survive long enough to see you return. Daewon looked down at the crystal. Blue light danced across his fingers. What do you want me to do with this? Study it. Share it with your team if you want. But most importantly, remember it. When you go back for the final trial, When the Council asks you to speak on behalf of humanity, remember what's coming. Remember that the galaxy needs you to be exactly what you are: chaotic, emotional, impossibly stubborn. The Council wants us to be calm and logical. The Council has been calm and logical for 100,000 years. It's gotten us to the edge of extinction 4 times. Veltara placed her hand over his, over the crystal. Maybe what we need isn't more calm logic. Maybe we need human chaos, human emotion, human refusal to accept that anything is truly impossible. A tone sounded through the room. Their hour was almost up. "We need to go back," Veltara said. "The trials will continue. Calith will push for your failure. Others will defend you. The vote will be close." "What should I say to them?" Veltara turned toward the door. "Tell them the truth. Tell them you know you're not perfect. Tell them humans make mistakes, but also tell them that humans never, ever give up. Tell them that you don't have a plan for dying with dignity. You only have plans for surviving." She paused at the door and looked back at him. "And, Ambassador, when this is over, regardless of how it ends, you'll forget 1,000 things about this day. But you'll never forget this moment. When someone from the stars believed in you before you believed in yourself. That's the real secret. That's what makes you who you'll become." The door opened. They stepped back into the corridor. As they walked toward the trial chamber, Daewon held the crystal tight in his hand. Somewhere in the future, his descendants were fighting battles he couldn't imagine. Somewhere in the past, they'd already saved the galaxy 3 times. Now it was his turn. Not to fight the Harvesters, not yet, but to fight for humanity's place among the stars, to prove that chaos and emotion and stubborn hope could be strengths instead of weaknesses. The whisper Veltara gave him echoed in his mind. The galaxy was counting on him, not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And humans never let people down if they could help it. Daewon returned to his team with the crystal hidden in his pocket. He couldn't tell them yet. Not here, where alien sensors might be watching and listening. Hana gave him a questioning look, but he shook his head slightly. Later, the trials continued. One after another, they faced impossible scenarios. Each test seemed designed for species with abilities humans didn't have. Telepathy, hive minds, lifespans that stretched for centuries. In one trial, they had to negotiate peace between 2 species that communicated through color-changing skin patterns. Humans couldn't see half the spectrum they used. Daewon and his team had to rely on equipment and guesswork. They failed that trial. In another, they had to solve a mathematical problem that required understanding 17-dimensional space. Hana came closest to an answer, but time ran out. Another failure. But strangely, Calith didn't dismiss them. The trials kept coming. During a rest period, Daewon gathered his team in their assigned quarters. He pulled out the crystal and told them everything. Hana listened with wide eyes. The others looked skeptical at first, then gradually convinced as Daewon showed them the data. "This explains so much," Hana said quietly. She manipulated the holographic display the crystal projected. "Look at this. The Harvesters are like a plague. They don't just destroy civilizations. They consume them, break down all matter into basic elements and absorb it." "How do you fight something like that?" asked Minho, one of their engineers. "You don't, at least not with conventional weapons. According to this data, the Harvesters adapt to any attack within hours. Energy weapons, kinetic weapons, biological agents, nothing works for long." Daewon studied the images. The Harvesters looked like massive organic machines. Part flesh, part metal, all hunger. They moved between galaxies like locusts, leaving empty space behind them. "Veltara said we win in the simulations where humans are involved." "But how?" Hana shook her head. "The data doesn't say. It just shows that human presence changes the outcome. Maybe we develop some new weapon. Maybe we find a weakness. Or maybe, she trailed off. Maybe what? Maybe we don't fight them at all. Maybe we do something completely unexpected. Something only humans would think of. Hana looked at Daewon. You gave everyone in that plague colony a chance to survive instead of writing some off as acceptable losses. That's not logical, but it worked. What if the solution to the harvesters is similarly illogical? Before Daewon could respond, their door chimed. A holographic message appeared in the air. The next trial would begin in 1 hour, and this time it would involve direct competition with another species, the Korthan. They entered the trial chamber to find the Korthan team already waiting. There were 6 of them, each standing over 2 meters tall. Their armored skin looked like it could stop bullets. Their small eyes watched the humans with clear disdain. Finally, one of them rumbled, a real challenge. We've been watching you fumble through these trials. It will be satisfying to defeat you properly. Kyleth appeared on his platform. This trial tests combat tactics and strategic thinking. You will face a simulation of an enemy force. The team that achieves victory fastest and with fewest losses wins. The losing team is eliminated from the trials. Daewon felt his stomach drop. Eliminated. This was it. Everything came down to this one test. The Korthan will go first, Kyleth announced. The chamber transformed into a battlefield. Rocky terrain stretched out in all directions. In the distance, Daewon could see enemy forces, automated weapons platforms, defense turrets, robotic soldiers. The Korthan moved with practiced precision. They had clearly done this kind of thing many times before. They advanced in formation, using cover, supporting each other. Their tactics were flawless. Military perfection. It took them 18 minutes to clear the battlefield. They lost 1 simulated soldier. When they finished, their leader turned to Daewon and smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. Beat that, humans! The battlefield reset. Now it was humanity's turn. Daewon studied the terrain, the enemy positions. The Korthan had taken the safe approach. Steady, predictable, by the numbers. What are you thinking? Hana asked. Daewon remembered what Veltara had said. Maybe what the galaxy needed wasn't calm logic. Maybe it needed human chaos. We're not going to fight them the way they expect. He explained his plan quickly. His team stared at him like he'd lost his mind. That's insane, Minho said. Probably, but we can't beat them at their own game, so we changed the game. The trial began. Instead of advancing carefully, the human team split up immediately. Half went left, half went right. They moved fast, taking risks, exposing themselves to enemy fire. The watching aliens made sounds of confusion, but Daewon wasn't trying to avoid casualties. He was creating a distraction. While enemy weapons focused on his scattered team, he identified the simulation's weak point. Every defensive network had one, a central control node. He found it behind a wall of defenses, impossible to reach using normal tactics. The Korthan had avoided it entirely, choosing to destroy each defensive position individually. Daewon didn't try to reach it slowly. He had his team create maximum chaos across the battlefield, drawing every enemy weapon's attention. Then he ran straight at the control node. Enemy fire tore through the simulation around him. His virtual shields dropped to 0. He took hits that should have killed him, but he reached the node. Instead of destroying it, he hacked it. Another crazy idea. The simulation wasn't designed to be hacked, but Daewon bet that it also wasn't designed to prevent hacking. Why would it be? No species had tried before. It took 30 seconds, the longest 30 seconds of his life. Then the node's code opened up. Daewon uploaded a virus. Simple, elegant, something any human computer programmer could have written. The entire enemy network shut down, all at once. Total victory in under 5 minutes. Daewon stood in the suddenly silent battlefield, breathing hard. Around him, his team slowly got up from their positions. Half of them had been killed in the simulation, but they'd won. The simulation vanished. They stood in the empty chamber again. The watching aliens were completely silent. Even Calith seemed at a loss for words. The Korthan leader stepped forward. His face was dark with anger. "That was cheating. You broke the rules." "What rules?" Daewon asked. "We were told to achieve victory fastest and with fewest losses. We did. 4 minutes, 37 seconds, and the only losses were simulated soldiers, not the actual objective." "You hacked the simulation itself." "The trial never said we couldn't." The Korthan lunged forward. Daewon barely had time to react before the massive alien grabbed his uniform. The creature lifted him off the ground with one hand. "You think you're clever? You think your tricks will work against real enemies? You're weak, fragile. You survived that trial through luck and cheating." "Let him go," Hana said sharply. "Or what? You'll hack me too?" The Korthan laughed. It was an ugly sound. Then something changed in the alien's eyes. His grip loosened slightly. Daewon felt a presence in his mind. Not thoughts, just a feeling. Calm, peaceful, overwhelming. The Korthan dropped him and stumbled backward. Veltara stood behind the creature, one hand raised. "Violence against trial candidates is forbidden," she said softly. "You know this, Commander." The Korthan's face twisted with rage, but he stepped back. "This isn't over," he growled at Daewon. After the Korthan left, Veltara helped Daewon to his feet. "Are you hurt?" "Just my pride." Daewon straightened his uniform. "Why did they attack me?" "Because you scared them. You did something they didn't expect. Something they couldn't predict. For a species that values strength and predictability above all else, that's terrifying." Kylith descended on his platform. "The trial results are being reviewed. The Korthan have filed a formal complaint. They claim you violated the spirit of the test." "But not the rules," Veltara said firmly. "Rules can be interpreted many ways, Observer." "Then perhaps the Council should have been more specific in their instructions." Veltara's voice was sharp. "You cannot punish a species for creative thinking simply because it makes you uncomfortable." Kylith's mandibles clicked rapidly. Anger, Daewon guessed. "There will be a hearing, 3 hours from now. Ambassador Daewon will present his defense. The Council will vote on whether to allow the trial result or eliminate humanity immediately." The Arbiter left without another word. Daewon looked at Veltara. "I thought you said some of the Council supported us." "They do. But they're afraid to show it openly. If they defend you too strongly, the opposition will claim they're biased. Politics." Veltara sighed. "The truth is, the Council isn't just deciding whether humans are ready for integration. They're deciding whether to tell you about the Harvesters, whether to trust you with the galaxy's greatest secret." "You already told me." "Yes. And if Kylith knew, I would be removed from my position immediately. What I did was illegal, but necessary." She looked at him intently. "In 3 hours, you'll stand before the full Council, thousands of beings from 47 species. They'll judge not just your actions, but humanity's future. Your words will matter more than any trial." "What should I say?" Veltara smiled. "Tell them the truth. Tell them who humans really are. Not the violent primitives from your history broadcasts. Not the miracle saviors from my time travel theories. Just tell them about humans. The real ones. The ones who give everyone a chance because time is short and every life matters." She started to walk away, then paused. "And Daewon? Thank you." "For what?" "For being exactly what we needed. Unpredictable, creative, brave enough to break rules that didn't make sense." Her dark eyes sparkled. "For giving an old galaxy hope that maybe, just maybe, chaos can save us where order failed." After she left, Daewon sat down heavily. 3 hours until the hearing. 3 hours to figure out how to convince an entire galaxy that humanity deserved a chance. He pulled out the crystal and looked at the data on the Harvesters. 127 years. That's all they had. and the clock was already ticking. The council chamber was even larger than Daewon had imagined. It stretched up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Thousands of platforms floated at different levels, each holding representatives from the galaxy species. The air hummed with translation devices working in hundreds of languages at once. Daewon stood alone on a platform in the center. His team waited in an observation area. He could see Hana giving him an encouraging nod. Veltara stood on her own platform near the top of the chamber. Even from this distance, he could feel her watching him. Kalith's voice boomed through the space. "We are gathered to decide the fate of the human species. They have completed the integration trials. The results are mixed. Some tests they passed with unusual solutions. Others they failed entirely. But the final combat trial has raised serious concerns." Images appeared in the air, recordings of Daewon's hack of the simulation, the chaos his team created, the enemy network collapsing. The Korthan delegation argues that this was cheating, that humans cannot be trusted to follow established protocols, that their chaotic nature makes them dangerous to galactic stability. A Korthan representative stood on a distant platform. "Humans are unpredictable. They break rules. They take reckless risks. They have been spacefaring for less than 500 years. Their average lifespan is a mere century. They have no experience with long-term planning. Accepting them into the council now would be a mistake." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Daewon felt his heart sink. Another voice spoke. This one belonged to a Lumen's representative, its glowing form pulsing with each word. "Yet they show remarkable adaptability. In the plague scenario, they found a solution that saved more lives than the mathematically optimal approach. Perhaps their short lives make them value each individual more than we do. Or perhaps it makes them sentimental and irrational," Kylith countered. "The question before us is simple. Are humans ready for integration, or should we require them to wait and develop further?" "I wish to speak." Veltara's voice cut through the discussions. "As observer, it is my right to present evidence before the vote." Kalith's platform shifted to face her. "Observer Veltara, you have already shown unusual interest in this species. Some might question your objectivity. Then let them question, but they must also hear the truth." Veltara's platform descended until she was level with Daewon's. She looked out at the assembled council. "For 1,000 years, we have investigated mysterious events in our history. 3 extinction-level threats that were stopped by unknown forces. I have discovered the source of those forces." The chamber went silent. "The energy signatures match human technology. Technology they have not yet invented, but will. The evidence suggests that humans from the future traveled back in time and saved our galaxy 3 times. Chaos erupted. Thousands of aliens speaking at once. The translation systems struggled to keep up. Daewon heard fragments. "Impossible! Time travel is theoretical. She's been compromised by contact with them." Kalith raised all 4 arms. Slowly, silence returned. "Observer Veltara, these are extraordinary claims. Do you have proof?" "I have evidence, energy signatures, temporal anomalies, archaeological findings that match human design principles." Veltara pulled out a device and projected images into the air. "But more importantly, I have performed simulations, predictive models of future galactic threats." New images appeared. The harvesters. Massive, hungry, unstoppable. The chamber went cold. Several species made sounds of fear, others of confusion. "What is this?" demanded a Rethian representative. "This is what's coming. In 127 years, these creatures will arrive in our galaxy. We call them the Harvesters. They have consumed 14 other galaxies. Every simulation we have run ends in our complete annihilation. Every strategy we develop fails." Veltara let that sink in. The chamber remained silent. "Except for one scenario. In simulations where humans are part of the council, where they have had time to develop and grow, the outcome changes. We survive. Not easily, not without cost, but we survive. This is speculation, Calith said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Yes, but it's the only hope we have. Veltara turned to Dewan. Ambassador, you have been silent. You have heard the Council's concerns about your species. You have heard my revelations about your future. Now speak. Tell us who humans really are. Dewan felt thousands of eyes on him. He thought about everything that had happened. The trials, the whisper, the crystal's data. His whole life had led to this moment. He took a deep breath. Council members, you're right to be concerned about humanity. We are young. We are unpredictable. We do break rules sometimes. Our history is full of violence and mistakes. I won't deny any of that. He paused, looking around the chamber. But you're asking the wrong question. You want to know if we're ready for integration, if we're safe, if we'll follow your established ways of doing things. And honestly, the answer is probably no. We're not ready. We're not safe. And we definitely won't always do things the way you expect. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Dewan continued. But here's what you should be asking instead. When the harvesters come, when everything you've built over 100,000 years is about to be destroyed, do you want allies who follow the rules perfectly? Or do you want allies who refuse to accept that anything is impossible? He pointed at the image of the harvesters still floating in the air. You've run every simulation, used all your logic, applied all your knowledge and experience, and you keep dying, every time, because you're trying to solve an impossible problem using the same thinking that got you here. The thinking that says some problems can't be solved, some fights can't be won, some people aren't worth saving. Dewan felt the passion rising in his voice. Humans don't think that way. We can't afford to. Our lives are short. We don't have centuries to plan. We don't have the luxury of accepting defeat gracefully. When humans face an impossible problem, we don't calculate the optimal way to die. We look for the crazy, illogical, shouldn't-work solution that just might save everyone. He gestured at the trial recordings still displayed. You saw me hack that simulation. You called it cheating. I call it adapting. The Korthan followed the rules and won safely. We broke the rules and won faster. Against the harvesters, which approach do you think will matter more? Veltara smiled slightly. Calith's mandibles clicked, but he remained silent. Observer Veltara told me about the timeline contamination, about evidence that my descendants saved the galaxy. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. Maybe humans really do develop time travel and go back to help. But you know what? That doesn't matter right now. Dewan looked directly at Calith. What matters is that you have 127 years until the harvesters arrive. 127 years to prepare, to develop new weapons, new strategies, new solutions. And you can do that with or without humanity. He let that sink in. Without us, you'll use your established methods, your logic, your experience, and based on your own simulations, you'll fail. With us, maybe you still fail. Maybe humans can't save you. Maybe the timeline evidence is wrong and we're not the miracle you're hoping for. Dewan's voice grew stronger. But maybe we do something nobody expects. Maybe we find the solution hidden in chaos. Maybe we refuse to give up when everyone else has accepted defeat. Maybe that's what changes the outcome in those simulations. Not human technology, not human weapons, just human stubbornness, human hope, human refusal to let people die if we can do anything at all to stop it. The chamber was completely silent now, every being watching him. You want to quarantine us for 1,000 years? Fine, that's your right. But in 1,000 years, the harvesters will have been and gone. You'll all be dead or worse. And humanity will arrive at an empty galaxy, wondering what happened to all the species that were too afraid to trust us. Dewan's voice softened. Or you can take a chance. Accept us now. Work with us. Share your knowledge. Let us share our chaos. And maybe, just maybe, we'll all be here in 1,000 years. Looking back at this moment as the day the galaxy chose hope over fear. He stepped back, finished. His heart pounded. He'd said everything he needed to say. Now it was up to them. Calith spoke slowly. You ask us to take a tremendous risk. I'm asking you to trust us the way Observer Veltara did, the way she trusted me enough to tell me the truth instead of hiding it for another 100 years. Because here's the real secret about humans. We rise to meet trust. You believe in us and we'll move mountains to prove you right. Veltara's platform moved closer. I propose a vote. Accept humanity into the Council now with full knowledge of the Harvester threat. Or reject them and face that threat alone. This is highly irregular, Calith protested. The Council voted to keep the Harvester information classified. The Council voted to maintain peace through ignorance, Veltara corrected. I propose we maintain peace through unity instead. Let every species know what's coming. Let them prepare together, led by humans who somehow, someway found a solution we couldn't. A Grantoid representative spoke, its voice like grinding stone. And if the humans fail, if they cannot save us, then we fail together, Veltara said simply, and at least we tried something new instead of dying the same old way. The vote was called. Daewon watched as lights appeared across the chamber, green for acceptance, red for rejection, yellow for abstention. The colors flickered and changed as representatives made their choices. It was close, so close. Finally, the counting stopped. The chief arbiter announced the result. By a margin of 3 votes, humanity is accepted into the Galactic Council. Daewon's legs nearly gave out. 3 votes, out of thousands. They'd made it. But Calith wasn't finished. There is a condition. Humanity will lead the Harvester Defense Initiative. You will have access to all Council resources and knowledge. But if your approach fails, if the Harvesters break through, the responsibility falls on your species. We accept, Daewon said immediately. Later, after the formal ceremonies, after the documents were signed and the announcements made, Daewon found himself alone with Veltara on the observation deck, the same place where she'd first whispered the truth to him. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. You knew, Daewon said finally. When you told me about the time travel evidence, you knew I'd have to reveal it to the Council. I hoped you would. I couldn't do it myself without being removed, but you could, and you did it perfectly. Veltara smiled. You turned our fear into hope, our doubt into possibility. What if I'm wrong? What if humans can't stop the Harvesters? Then we were wrong together. But I don't think you're wrong. She looked at him. You want to know what I really see when I read your emotional resonance? What? Possibilities. Endless possibilities. Every other species has defined patterns. They think in loops. The same solutions to the same problems over and over. But humans? You think in explosions. Every moment branches into 1,000 different potential futures. It's chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. Veltara moved closer. That's what saves us. Not your technology, not your weapons, just your absolute refusal to accept that any particular future is inevitable. You look at certain death and think, not today. You look at impossible odds and think, we'll see. You look at extinction and think, challenge accepted. Daewon laughed despite himself. That does sound like us. 1,000 years from now, maybe 10,000, your descendants will stand where we're standing. They'll look back at this moment. They'll remember the day when someone from the stars believed in them before they believed in themselves, and that memory will carry them through whatever battles they face. Is that how it works? Is that the time loop? We succeed because you believed we could? Maybe. Or maybe we believe because we already know you succeeded. Or maybe, Velterra smiled, maybe it doesn't matter which came first, the belief or the success. Maybe they create each other, echoing forward and backward through time forever. She placed her hand over his. You'll forget so much, Ambassador Dewan. You'll forget species names, planet names, even the faces of people you meet today. But you'll never forget this moment, when an alien woman leaned in and whispered the truth, when the galaxy chose hope, when humanity took the first step toward becoming what they were always meant to be. Dewan looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were coming. Somewhere else, his descendants were preparing. And here, now, in this moment, the galaxy had chosen to trust humanity. We won't let you down, he said quietly. I know, Velterra replied. You already didn't? They stood together in silence, watching the stars, while the future and the past spiraled around them in an endless dance of hope and possibility.